Hey guys, how are you? Garth here from Tongariro River Rafting. So we're going to have a bit of a chat to you about some wading strategies and things to do in rivers around the central North Island. You know, lots of people come here to fish during winter. They like the little streams, but they get a bit worried about crossing the Tongariro, or in the summer going over to the Whakapapa or top of the Whanganui. So we're going to give you some tips and hints how to make your wading much safer. Okay, so gear. So when you're wearing your gear, so you know, in the outdoors, I'm a massive fan of not wearing cotton against the skin. So those of you that wear jeans and t-shirts and stuff might be really good on a nice hot summer's day, but really, you know, you're better off to have polypro or fleece or soft shell pants. They're my go-to thing. All through winter, I wear soft shell pants underneath my waders. The great thing is if you do get wet, they dry out really quickly. Same on top, you know, I've got fleece and polypro on. So everything I wear, I try and wear stuff that if I do get wet, it's really easy to squeeze out, dry a bit, but it actually still keeps you warm. On your feet, you know, a good pair of boots is a must. Whether you have studded boots or not is a personal preference, I guess. The big cleats are actually quite good. They grab onto the rocks. They certainly make walking around in the rubber sole boots that we have to wear these days a lot easier. But the other big thing, you know, one of these guys, the wading staff, makes a massive difference for when you get out and you start walking around through the river and you're trying to pick your way through. Sunglasses. I reckon sunglasses when you're wading, even on a dark day, are a really good thing to have. You need to be able to see your feet down in the river. You see people wandering around out here sometimes when the river's quite dark and murky in a flood. If you know the river really well, not a bad thing to do, but you don't really want to go for that big crossing if you don't know where you are. Raincoat, jacket over the top. We don't need it today, obviously, but actually when you go to do some of those bigger wades, the jacket's quite good. It slows the egress of water down into your waders. Wading belt, massive thing to have on, you know. This thing is a lifesaver. It stops that water going down into the bottom of your waders and making them really, really heavy. It won't stop it completely, but it will definitely slow it. So another great bit of kit, you know, I haven't got my vest on at the moment, but we all tend to wear these vests and have lots and lots of stuff in it, which is really handy, but can be a bit of a hindrance if you get into trouble. But these are wonderful. So this is a waterproof bag. I've got phones and all sorts of stuff in it. And the great thing is that if you do take a bit of a swim, you can actually use it as a bit of flotation. The big thing when you're wading with a bag on is actually to make sure that these straps aren't done up. So to cross the river with your straps done up, not a great idea, because if you fall over, it's actually going to float you face down. So you want to have those straps undone so you can get it off to get it around the other side. So these guys, the wading stick, wonderful, wonderful tool, especially these days now that we don't wear felt soles in rivers in New Zealand. Wading stick is a great bit of kit to use. You can have the Flash Harry one like this, or you can just have a wooden one. The wooden ones work pretty well as well. What I find with the alloy or carbon fibre ones with the steel tip on the end though is get the rubber stop that goes on the bottom. I think you just get better placement of them on the bottom of the river with that rubber stopper. So we see lots of people out on the river with a wading stick and they have their wading stick on the downstream side of them. And what that does is it puts your balance completely off. Where you want your wading stick actually is on your upstream side. And when you're using the wading stick, think of it as your third point of contact, and you want to try at all times to have 2 points of contact. So I'm going to move my stick, and then I'm going to move one foot, and then I'm going to move my other foot, and then I'm going to move my stick again. So you're keeping 2 points of contact the whole time as you move across the river. And the great thing with the wading stick is you can actually poke around to find out where to put your foot next time as you move through the river. Okay, so some things that we need to think about before we wade. So you've turned up at the river and you know, are you just going to cross anywhere? No, you probably need to be looking at a couple of things. So like, where am I going to get in and where am I going to get out? You know, have I got a good place to get in and out? What's below you? Is it actually safe? If something goes wrong where you're trying to cross, are you going to swim through the gnarliest rapid and not have a good time, or are you going to end up down in a big pool where it's safe to get to the side? You know, if you cross, can you get back? So you know, here on the Tongariro in the winter, you get the occasional situation where people cross the river to fish an island, and then the river comes up a bit and they can't get back. You know, so wherever you go to, can you get back from that point to your original spot? Dirty rivers, you know, do you know the river well enough to actually go out? Can you recognise the features in the river that are going to help you walk through it, or how deep it is, how fast it is? You know, I would suggest to you, if you can't see your feet, then you probably don't want to wade through wade in that sort of water in a big river like the Tongariro. So you see lots of people out fishing and they go to cross the river together, and they'll grab a hold of each other and they'll pull each other in really tight. I personally prefer to have people get hold of the collar of my neck or the corner of my vest, and actually use your arms to move apart from each other, because that way you can actually move around the rocks in the bottom of the river, and you can move people across or shift people across to find your way through much easier. So you've been knocked over, you've lost your balance, you're now in the water, and this is something that everybody should do really in their waders before they do too much fishing, because people are really worried about the fact that their waders are going to turn them upside down. There's that old wives' tale about waders turning them upside down. What actually happens is you've got all this air in your waders down around your feet, and it actually lifts your feet up really nicely into a great, what we call in the rafting industry, the whitewater float position. So your toes and nose and hands are out of the water, and you just float feet first down the river. You can use your arms to scull, you've still got your rod, and you want to be looking for that place where you're going to get out of the river and you can scull your way to the side. And that's why that wading belt is really important, because it does slow that water going down into your feet, so that when you go to stand up to get out of the water, you're not full of water and really heavy. So there's a few ideas and tips for you. You know, there's a bit more stuff to go into, but get in touch with the boys at Manic, or give us a call, and we can give you more information if you'd like some more. But you know, if you get a day like today, beautiful sunny, you're out with your mates, I seriously suggest have a go, dropping in your waders. It's not actually that bad. They dry out pretty quick, and what better thing to do so that when it does happen at the real time, you've got an idea of what's actually going to happen. Thanks for watching, and tight lines.